All right, well, here I come. So hopefully, all right, let's give her another shot and see if we can't get live here. You've got Facebook up?
Of course.
Okay, so this is happening now.
Says live.
All right, we are actually live. We started early, well, we started on time, and there's always some sort of technical glitch. Okay, my dear, so where are you? I have to get you on here. So let me invite Miss Sabrina, my co-host. So just give us a second, because I just shut down completely, so we could restart. And as soon as we get, all right, Sabrina's just trying to connect. Welcome to our world with satellite. There's such a delay, not to mention technology. All right, so just give us a minute.
Here's my video. Here I am.
All right.
And yes, there.
Okay, we good? Okay, awesome. Okay, welcome, 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 welcome. I'm Caroline Best, Dow of Horsemanship. This is Everything Horses and More podcast. And next to me, my lovely co-host, Sabrina Arbogast.
Hey guys.
All right, so this is our weekly show. And for those of you that are familiar, Everything Horses and More podcast, we talk about everything about horse care, handling, training, and riding as one. My particular way of developing that riding is one in mind, body, and heart movement. Great, we're on. And then the more part is we often talk about things that are definitely related to my methodology of working with horses and developing them and people, but they're not often related to traditional training. Meaning we talk about enlightenment and levels of consciousness and spirituality. And for those of you that are familiar with me, whether it's a YouTube channel or you've been a student of mine or you're on one of my online courses, you know I'm always talking about being holistic or holism. We're very inclusive. We don't exclude things, we include things. That's what holism means, and that's what inclusive means. So that's where the Everything Horses and More comes in, and that's where the spirituality comes in. Because when you're dealing holistically with a living being like a horse and a person, you're dealing with all aspects of their being. And that's the emotions, the mental, the physical, and then the spiritual. And so this week, we're going to be moving forward a little differently in the way that we're organizing things. So we're going to start including a brief summary of last week's podcast. For those of you that missed it or you're new, that'll give you an opportunity to get a feel for what we do talk about. And you can always go to the actual podcast to listen to the entire show, so to speak. And so that'll be our first topic. The second topic is going to be about today's podcast. And each week we talk about the upcoming video. We release a free training video every Friday. And the short snippet infomercial goes on YouTube with just a few pointers. We give away a few things, but the full length training video, which is anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
It could be shorter.
Could be shorter, maybe like 20.
I think this week's was 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's and we'll talk about that. That's right. This week was 10, but normally I'd say 90% of the time they're at least 30 minutes long, and you'll find those in the Everything Horses and More video library, which is subscription based. But yeah, this week was a little shorter because it segued right off of last week's video, but I'll talk about that. And then our third topic today is where we're going to get a little deeper, and we're going to talk about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and it is titled, Do You Practice Conscious Living? And yeah, so, and what does it mean to practice consciously, conscious living? So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Of course, we always welcome questions and comments. So if you haven't emailed them in, then go ahead. And Sabrina's here she'll be keeping an eye on the Facebook page. That's why we're streaming live to Facebook with our podcast, so that we can be more engaged and interactive, and get you guys, talk to you guys. Okay, fantastic. So last week, our video title was about where should my leg be when riding, and the common mistakes beginner riders make, part 2. And so last week, and that's gotten a lot of reviews. We've gotten a lot of views on that, and usually positive. We always get some negative or something.
Can happen.
I wouldn't say negative is really the right answer. Sometimes we get some
know-it-alls.
Know-it-alls, Sabrina. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you could say that, and I'm going to bring up one particular item. I'm not going to bring up their name because you guys could go to YouTube and find this person. I'm only bringing it up because my methodology to horses, to training and working with horses and learning about horses is so unconventional. It's real, it's science-based, it's common sense-based. I show you the facts in all of my videos. I show you the truth of it. I show you the finished product of it. I show you how to get there. But for some people, like this particular person in this video, the comment area just can't get it. And she's definitely a more traditional rider. And it just blows my mind. I guess I'm too respectful. I was brought up that way, that even if I didn't agree with a professional, and I'm a professional, so if I was looking at another professional's website and I didn't agree, I'm not going to blow them up on their own channel, you know. And it's like, not unless I think they're doing something absolutely abusive or crazy. And you all know I have. If you've been following my YouTube channel, we do the debunking and myth busting videos here and there. So you know that I'll speak openly about certain trainers, and it's because I can say that to their face. I'm not being mean. I'm just bringing up factually why I don't agree, and I think it's wrong. And so this person particularly brought up, you know, how do I know what I'm talking about with the leg? I'm not even riding in a saddle.
Yeah.
Well, unbeknownst to this subscriber, the full length video shows me in a dressage saddle and it shows me in a bareback pad. And I don't know if you included it. I don't remember because I watched it in the short version, Sabrina, if I talked about doing this in a saddle. I swear I did.
A bareback pad.
Yeah, but I know that I actually talk in the beginning of the video when I'm introducing it that I'm going to be demonstrating in both a saddle and a bareback pad. I just don't know if we included that in the short one. Okay.
And yes.
So that'll be something we remember to do next time.
Yeah.
That when I'm doing, because you get people like this who, she didn't know that I show myself in a saddle. So, but it just amazes me how disrespectful people can be and arrogant, not to mention ignorant. So it's like we go back and forth, and I go back and forth with this person because to me, it's an opportunity to further explain, because I know that there are so many traditionally minded equestrians out there. And that's the stuff that is constantly, people are brainwashed. You all are brainwashed. And if you're not brainwashed by the propaganda that's out there about horse training and how to ride, and you have to have a helmet and you have to ride in a saddle and it's the only way, if you're not brainwashed, you are truly experiencing horses that are dangerous though. So you have to wear a helmet and you need your saddle to keep you from falling off. But the point I'm making, because I'm a pioneer in what I do, is that you don't. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I don't need any more head, unbeknownst to some of you. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a show off. I'm not riding without a helmet and in a bareback pad because I can. I'm doing it to prove something to you all. And I say it time and time again, that if you develop the horse the way I'm showing you, the way I can teach you, both in the power of the relationship, and there's many layers to that, as well as the power of developing your horse's left brain, the cognitive. It's called a brain game, exercising that. You are going to be safe. I mean, it blows my mind. So I'm not going to go into any more depth. You guys can check out our bantering back and forth. It's a healthy banter. And it gives me an opportunity to further explain myself. But it's definitely blows my mind that there aren't any videos out there. There's plenty of videos similar to mine that talk about leg length, plenty, like how long should your stirrups be? Where should your leg be? There's a ton of them out there, but nobody's teaching it correctly. Blows my mind. And I don't know who these people are studying. I mean, I've studied with some of the best, you guys, and in every discipline, and especially dressage and classical dressage, all the way up through working equitation. I've studied with so many of the best, and every one of them, they're all at professional levels. They all have shown they don't just train. They're not your backyard trainer that calls themselves an instructor. These people have professionally showed, and they know that you can't ride any other way but the way I'm explaining it, and win or do well for the horse and win. You've got to have a long leg. The leg has got to be underneath the view. And the long leg is for reiners too. It's not just for dressage. So it's really interesting. And I talk about this in the videos. I let you guys know in the long versions, in the subscription, that my facts aren't just science, common sense. They're also supported, the majority supported by professionals, pros. I've not taken lessons from some backyard person who just talks a talk but doesn't train horses, knows nothing about horses, and they haven't, worked with people on a professional level. So that's my background. And more than that, if you were to just try it on a safe horse, it would blow your mind how secure and balanced you feel. And I demonstrate with you when you get on Lovey.
Sure did.
Yeah, so it's a different feeling than how we are traditionally taught. So that was last week's video. And we also talked about how to learning to learn. And I'm not going to get into detail about this because it's in last week's podcast, but it's interesting with all the new online training courses, including mine, that, I went back to school. I'm self-taught, but when I was developing these online courses, I'm self-taught. So I went back to school as a marketing specialist, and then I had to learn. I'm already a marketing specialist in my previous career, so I brought those skills into this business, but I also had to learn what was the best way to teach online, and what was also the best way for students to learn online. And I'm not saying, I don't know how to put this, I'm not saying that I'm not the best, or I have to say, I do totally think my courses are the best because they give you so much information, and they give you such a full scope, a holistic and full scope. It's not linear. It's not just about this. We consider everything for the horse and rider. So, but I can't say I've done the best job with micro learning, meaning, I'm not going to be that person that can just break things down very concisely and clearly and chop and walk away. I mean, look at me and look at my videos. There's so much to talk about. But I do a better job. I do a much better job. And there's a lot to be said about learning how to learn. And in the last podcast, I talk about my experiences as a student and my problems and challenges with learning, and then coming into my adulthood, my second career, this career, and how amazing it was to change that brain. And it took a while because I am such a right hemisphere person, such a creative person. And, I've got that logical business head, but it's hard to go back and forth.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
understand that feeling.
Yeah, it's so hard. And then, yes, it's so hard. So I think the two key points with last week's Learning to Learn was developing how to start.
Mhm.
And you need to develop the mental muscle, the mental memory, and you need to train your eye. And so many people, when you are signing up for these online courses, we're very linear
Mhm.
as a human species to begin with. We're very direct line, we're very focused, we're very from one point to the other. So we're not nonlinear. So we just go after it. And that doesn't always work with learning, and it doesn't always work with horsemanship for sure. So it's like, you got to understand that you need to really study the principles and the theory and the concepts. So there's your mental memory. But then the second phase is you need to study with your eye. You need to study what the movement looks like, whether it's the person or the horses, the biomechanics. And then you go and practice. So often, and I know I was there, myself. So I had to retrain myself. I just wanted to go right after it. Oh my God, that looks so good. I'm so inspired. I'm so excited. Oh yeah, let me just read this. Oh, let me watch this for 5 minutes. I'm going to go out there and practice it. And it's unbelievable. You only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. All of us, and your lens, your trained eye only sees what it's already experienced. So if you haven't experienced the finished product or the process of getting to that yet, you have no idea what's in store. And we all think we do. I've been there. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to getting to that finished product. So a lot of Learning to Learn is teaching people to slow down too, and understand that to learn correctly, there are building blocks and there is a process. And so many of us in the horse world, as I said in the last podcast, well, I like to learn by watching it and doing it. And I'm like, yeah, but you're missing the picture here. I'm talking about training your eye. We're only going to see what we've experienced. Isn't that kind of like a poof, blow your mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just sad because we're in such a fast-paced world anymore that, a lot of times people make us feel dumb if we don't hurry up.
Well, especially in your, oh my gosh, especially, I read something I wanted to mention to you on Facebook. It just came up when I was closing down last night. My day, and it was a barrel racer. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to send it to you, but I was trying to get out of the office, and I had, whatever, take care of Mason. But she was talking about what it's like to be in that world. Mm-hmm. And all the haters. Oh, wow. And all the pressure. Yeah. And damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're really good and you show up with a great horse trailer and a great truck and a great horse, well then that was given to you. You didn't earn it. Mm-hmm. And if you show up with, not the best, then it was really, she was definitely venting and it was good, but then she made some really valid points. Mm-hmm. Just talking about the competition, the show world. And I was just using barrel racing because it's close to your heart, and it popped up last night, and it's similar to, everybody wants to, to me, the question is, what's your motivation? Right. So what's really fueling you to compromise either your horse or yourself or both to get to that ribbon or get to that winning circle? Yeah. So often both are compromised. Sure. We trade so much to win. Right. And we're always looking for the easier way, the quickest way, like you were saying. Absolutely, and yes. Because if you don't, you're behind. And then you have to catch up to, it's just such a crazy. It's a horrible, vicious cycle. It is. It really is. And not every professional in whichever discipline we choose is like that either. No. You take the good and the bad. Right. There's those that appreciate going slow. Sure. And putting the foundation down. Absolutely. But there's a comment that I wanted to make where you said that all the masters are gone. And somebody once told me that all the masters don't want to be around anymore. That they're not really gone because they passed away. They're just
they don't want to be around all this crap, so
Yeah,
to speak,
it's changed.
anymore, because they don't know anything anymore. It's all the younger generations want quick fixes. That is getting the, you know, the training. They want to go to them because it's fast.
It's even deeper than that. You know what? Because you just look at TikTok, and I don't, but I know Mason does. I know our kids do. So
I know more.
I know more. I love that. Well, yeah, I'm not there yet, knock on wood. But you look at TikTok and you look at like anything quick. I mean, we got Instagram. I don't even know all of them, you guys, and I don't care to. But I think the key thing is instant gratification and instant personal gratification. Like we can all post anything about ourselves and try to get likes.
Oh.
So it's not even about horses now. It's just about instant personal gratification. And that's where our younger generation is going.
Yes.
And so if that mindset, if that's something that, I mean, this crap, they're doing every day, sometimes for hours.
Oh.
Our kids are on these phones and they're looking at this stuff. And of course I'm monitoring, you know, but long story short, it's really going to screw things up, because it's going to change their attitude, their interpretation, their mindset. They're going to be thinking about things so generationally, like you said, the masters differently, that they're never going to be able to appreciate what it's like. Good example. So I think around 3:30, I shut down after our webinar yesterday, and I needed to get some food in me, and I wanted to promise Mason I'd get pizza.
Right.
So we ordered and we went out and got pizza, and then I came back and I had stuff I had to get back to in the office. But the point I'm making is, you know, I'm like, we're in the car and I'm like, hey, you know, you're so fidgety, and I know the answer, but I want him to acknowledge the answer. I don't want to just be the parent that constantly puts their kids down or makes them feel that way by picking on them all the time, even though what they're doing is driving me crazy. So I'm thinking about a nonlinear way of going around it that makes him more conscious about it, and either talk about it or realize that it's not good. Yes. So he's picking, and I'm like, Mace, you know, first I'll like grab his hand and kiss it or something. I'll try to redirect it. And it didn't work. So I'm like, babes, what's going on? You know, you're fidgety. And that's a sign, that's a behavior of either being anxious or bored. And he was real quiet, and I could tell he was thinking about it. So we're quiet. It was nice. We didn't have any music on. We were just quiet in the car, no phone, no. This is quality time. And so I, you know, again, I'm like, you know, lovingly, I touch him and I'm like, hey, you know, giving that some thought. You upset about something, you anxious about something, frustrated, because this, you know, picking or, you know, moving your foot, I mean, it's all signs of this stuff. Right. And, or are you also, was it just hard for you to be still? It's just really hard for me to be still. And I'm like, and I do, and he does. I'm like, let's talk about breathing. Do you know I had him asleep before we got there?
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes just forcing him to be in quiet.
Yeah. And
then me, you know how I am, I'm sitting there doing my own breathing like I do with the horses. Yes. In my own space. I know he's going to feel it and pick up on it. And of course I'm touching his arm and I'm methodically giving him a little bit of like rubbies on his arms. I know that's going to put him to sleep. And I had him, he was closed his eyes and everything. But it was because he's constantly overstimulated. You okay? The watermelon. Go ahead, hon. We've got some fresh watermelon.
Oh my gosh. Not at the right time.
Well, go get yourself a water. So in that conversation, it also, we can talk about our horses, because I get those questions all the time. You know, my horse has just got a really busy mind, Caroline, and I was following so-and-so, and they want me to set up X, Y, and Z in the arena, or X, Y, and Z in the round pen, or I constantly feel like I have to be introducing something new where my horse is constantly looking, you know, at things. And that's a busy mind, and it shouldn't be that way. You know, what I do and what I believe in is quieting the mind. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and getting still and practicing that level of discipline so we can be quiet, we can be still. And then there's so many positives that come from that. It's sure enough too, when we came back from getting the pizza around 4:30, no, actually I didn't come back to the office till later. So sorry, you guys. My days are so busy. She's back. Good. So we ate, and then we both curled up on the couch, Mace on one end, feet to feet, and turned on the news. Oh, that'll always put him to sleep. And we were both rubbing each other's feet, and we both took a nap. And then when I woke up around dinner time, I came down to finish up in the office. So, you know, it really helped him calm down, and he took like a 2-hour nap.
Yeah.
And of course he's still fighting it. You know, Carrie-I calls me Carrie-I still. Carrie-I, are we going to go swim after we eat? And I'm like, nope. We're going to just lie down and relax.
Yeah, Preston, he's had his phone taken away, my son. So now when we go on car rides, he's falling asleep too.
I love it.
And I'm just like, oh man.
I know, they're just
really tired.
Yeah.
Because they stay up late with their phones, constantly playing. So they don't even go to
No,
bed.
not Mason. Mason's phone is taken away at dinner time.
Okay.
No, but it always is.
No,
It's taken away at dinner time, if not earlier, you guys. And then it charges out on the counter.
Nice. School nights, yes. Summer,
Oh, no.
But it was like, beginning of the summer, Preston had his phone taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So
hopefully he's learned. I know. Hopefully he's learned.
My daughter, she has an hour of screen time now, and that shuts off completely because she gets so involved with it. And we're just done. We're done with all of that stuff.
They get bad attitudes. They get really cranky. So
don't see them.
Do you know, listen to you guys, I read an article last year about, and you guys can look it up. I don't remember where it is, but if your kids are spending X amount of hours on that stimulating, whether it's gaming or whatever, just overstimulating stuff, it is addicting. It produces the same chemical release in your brain that addiction does.
That's what Donnie told Preston.
So, I mean, it's scientifically proven. This stuff is just crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. But we don't see Peyton. She's always in the room and stuff.
I know.
So,
well, and I'm not making excuses, but she is 15.
Yeah, that too. But again,
now she's spending more time.
Yes. Now she's with us. She's with her horse. She wants to do all these things. She wants to go to the mall like a teenager.
Yeah.
And not just sit in her room. So just saying.
Lots of stuff to think about.
Yes, absolutely.
I know, we always go, I love it. We go off on all these tangents here. All right, the third thing that I'm going to summarize from last week's podcast, which is a really great topic, we'll expand on this another time, is biomechanics and the development of the movement in your horse before you ride it. That's another thing that nobody teaches and nobody thinks about and talks about. But when you follow the great masters and the classical way of training, and I'm talking specifically dressage, you want to develop all of those upper level movements in the horse before the rider was ever introduced. And then the rider has to learn how to ride that. So I'm not talking about all upper level movements. I'm just talking about the purity of the gaits and the fluidity of the gaits. And why not develop your horse into an athlete, which again, we talked about last week. Horses are not, they're natural athletes, but you have to understand what that means to be an athlete though. They're not professional athletes, meaning they don't have the training to develop the level of stamina or correct movement, which is balance and their movement. So horses are talented and they are natural athletes, but when they are performing a spectacular movement on their own, it lasts a few seconds, not a few hours every week or every day. And I hope that just hits hard with people, how we need to slow down in our horsemanship and take the time to create a foundation. And that's what I'm all about. So let's jump to this week's video, because this week's video parlays, it's a segue from last week. That's why it's much shorter. And last week we talked about where my legs should be when riding, common mistakes beginner riders make, part 2. This week it's about where should my foot be when riding, and this is part 3. We're going to have a whole series on this, and it's really important. And so I talk about it both in a saddle and when I'm riding bareback, because there's 2 completely different foot positions when you're riding in a saddle. And I'm also talking about riding in a reining, a Western saddle, and a dressage saddle. I'm not talking about hunter jumper. That's a completely different leg position, foot position, and body position. I'm specifically talking about the 2 major, most common disciplines. You're either in a Western saddle or you're in an English saddle. And then there's the bareback rider. Where should your foot be? So look forward to that this Friday. We give a snippet, the infomercial, a few good pointers on our YouTube channel. The full-length videos are in our video library, Everything Horses and More. And you can go to the Tao of Horsemanship.com on our welcome page to get an outline of all the things that we offer here, our products, our training courses. Okay. Oh boy, the juicy, juicy one. So this is a conversation, this topic that we often talk about in our podcasts when we are talking about levels of consciousness or more enlightening topics of personal growth and personal development. And I've talked about this in other forms, like how to be authentic and live your authentic self, your life. This week was inspired by a dear friend of mine who's also a student, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. She's usually on these podcasts. And she had sent us girls a link to Oprah Winfrey's podcast. I think maybe it's her most recent one. I'm not sure. But Oprah's podcast was called Your Own Truth. And it inspired me. And Rebecca, sent it to me because she knows that this is stuff that we talk about all the time. And so she just wanted to share that with Sabrina, me, and I think Janine was in that text as well. But it inspired me, and it brought me back to subject I love to talk about, but always, again, everything's going to be full circle. It's like I'm going to talk about, this would be more about personal development, but it's also definitely carries into our horsemanship. It should, at least. So do you practice conscious living? What does that mean? And I also call this intentional living. And in my work, there's so much talk about intention, the power of intention. So meaning, do we live with clear intention, clear focus, and clear purpose? And my purpose doesn't mean that we have to have, it means we have to have a purposeful life. This is big, but it doesn't mean, when I use the word purpose, I don't want it to be that you have to have a single purpose in life, that you have to have a single vision in life. What's your purpose in life? I don't mean it like that. It's not that linear. And that puts a lot of pressure on people, because I know, what are you smiling about?
The subjects.
I know that a lot of people don't know what they want to do with their life. I look, as many thousands of horses as I've come across, I've had just as many students. And I've been doing this work for a long time. This work that we're talking about right now. You don't have to put that pressure on you. We can live our lives with purpose every second of the day. You have to look at it differently. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And this is going to also cascade into so many other areas. So I'm just going to loosely bring these areas up, and then we can expand upon them. So I also call conscious living intentional living, meaning living with clear intention, focus, purpose. This is a mindset that develops through conscious practice. And again, conscious practice is a spiritual practice for me. That's the spirituality of horsemanship. I have a spiritual lifestyle, and I have certain things and rituals that I practice every day that help me, that help nurture and maintain this way of being, feeling, mindset. We're going to talk more about that. So think how this also works for your horsemanship. I'll give an example later in this podcast of a conversation I just had earlier this morning with a potential student who is desperate to not only understand her horse, but to save her horse. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So conscious living. Did you know, I know we've heard this though, did you know that your thoughts and your words define you? They define how you feel, how you think about yourself, how you talk about yourself, how you talk about other people, experiences, including your horse. Your words, your thoughts define everything. So see, we can go even deeper than that. Your emotions are where everything begins. How you feel about something controls the rest of everything. How you feel about something controls how you think about it, which controls the words that you choose, the language that you choose. And those feelings and thoughts and words control your actions, because your body is a container of all of it, and your body is also a mirror of how you feel. So obviously think about how this affects your horsemanship, because horses are so sensory aware and perceptive and tuned in. So if we want to start practicing a better version of ourselves and to feel better about ourselves, we have to really start understanding how to live consciously and intentionally, and the power of that, both negative and positive. Negatively is, first, do we even realize how we feel about ourselves? How do you feel about yourself? Do you like yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and do you like yourself? Do you like what you see? Do you like who you are around other people, certain people? Are you the best version of yourself? If you don't even know or don't even want to know, then that's where you're going to stay. But if you'd like to know, if you'd like to learn, if you'd like to get there, I can help you. And that's a whole nother website. That's a Bodhi Wellness Center. That is specifically dedicated and designed to personal development and personal empowerment through the wisdom of the horse. But let's think about this. Have you ever wondered why some people have the it factor? What is the it factor? The it factor transcends a person's looks. It makes them even more attractive and desirable than someone who is just conventionally attractive. I have often said, anybody that knows me personally, hangs out with me, what is sexy? Like, sexy to me has nothing to do with being gorgeous or handsome or beautiful. Sexy is you own it. It's that it factor, and you own it. You have a presence about you. I also relate that to swagger, but swagger can be a level of arrogance and can be a bit aggressive in people. So I'm going to say swagger as far as being confident. And there's, like, we could think of actors, you know, just think of musicians or actors, maybe actors that just have that it factor. They're not really beautiful, and they're cast often because they can own the character. You know, they can embody it. They have a presence. Well, what gives them that? And often, you know, I love watching interviews and documentaries and factual things. And when I've watched a lot of, people fascinate me. I love behavior. So I'm always reading and watching. And honestly, most of our actors in my generation and older, they don't even know they have an it factor. They don't even know it. It's something that obviously is innate in them. But let's talk about it a little bit, because it's really important in relationships, and especially in the relationship that we have with ourselves. And everything begins with us. If we don't feel good about ourselves, if we don't feel good about a situation, it's going to show up. It's obvious. And how many of us are living our lives unconscious? We don't want to deal with it. It hurts too much. It's too hard. I don't know how. There's a lot of stuff to think about. You know, people that have the it factor, they own it, they have a presence about themselves. What about the word presence? A sense of ease about themselves, which makes them easy to be around. And again, that's a level of confidence. So a couple of key, this is all going to lead into some key areas of life, like affirmations and manifestation. So, you know, some examples of, do you believe in yourself or how you feel about yourself? You know, do you look at yourself and do you say, I'm good enough? I deserve it. I'm beautiful. I like the way I look. I'm fine with that. I'm a good person. How about, I'm just good enough? I'm good enough. And what about your purpose in life? Here we go back to the beginning of this whole conversation. Where's the full circle with all of this? If you believe that you are good enough, you're perfect just the way you are, then everything you do has purpose. You have to look at it differently. You sitting there and listening to your friend, your child, you making your dog or your horse feel better, comfortable, safer in that thunderstorm. Everything you do has purpose. The way you make your child's sandwich has purpose. The way you make your child's bed, the way you make your bed. Did you make it for you? I make my bed and put all my big pillows on it every morning because I love the way it looks. It looks like a beautiful bedroom in a showcase, you know, furniture store, because I like the way it makes me feel. I do so many things on a ritualistic basis every day that make me feel good to be in that space, but make me feel good. I don't do it because someone else makes me do it or makes me feel bad if I don't do it. Wow. I mean, I know a lot of people that are in a lot of relationships, both work, marriage, family dynamics, and friendships that just constantly tear them down and don't bring any value to their life. And it's sad. It doesn't have to be that way.
So true.
It doesn't have to be that way. And I mean, this can definitely tie into your horsemanship. How many of you out there traditionally, not if you're practicing what I do or believe in me, but if you're new to this podcast and you're like, who the hell is this woman? It's interesting, but what the hell is she talking about? Well, how many of you, here we go back to that Facebook post I read last night from this barrel racer, there's constant pressure to conform. If you don't do it the way they like, and even then, they'll beat you up about it. So you have to be your best version of yourself for you. That's akin to living an authentic life, not for someone else, but for you. For you. So I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, affirmations, and manifesting. And so these are your how-to, your solutions to acquiring or attaining, feeling good about yourself, understanding that everything you do has purpose if you do it with purpose. So let's give an example. When my stepson, I hate calling him that because he's like my son, he hates it too. So when Mason asks me to make him a sandwich, I know it's because he loves the way I make that particular sandwich. Doesn't mean it's any better than Papa's sandwich. It's not about that. It's not a competition. It just means he loves the way I make that particular sandwich for him. And I make it with purpose, with love. Going back and forth with the mayonnaise knife and then the mustard and the right amount of mayonnaise and the way I toast the bread. I mean, everything's done just the way he likes it. It's done with purpose, and it's done with purpose. The purpose is love. The purpose was to make him happy. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't live my life to make people happy. Yeah, I do. I love making people happy, but I'm not a slave to it. I think all of you that know me understand that, but I do love to make you happy, to make you find that fulfillment in your life. And so it's like when I'm grooming my horse, I don't just groom my horse to get it done. And even if I'm in a hurry, I know exactly how that particular horse of mine, and I have many, likes to be groomed. And I know exactly how they would want to be touched and what kind of kisses they want and how much time they need. And often they're very demanding and they throw themselves at me. So this conversation, and I know I got sidetracked this earlier in the podcast, I want to get back to when I was getting ready to make Mason before the podcast. I broke away from my phone call that I'm going to talk about in a little bit and went up to get Mason ready for lunch before I came back down. And I was talking to one of my dearest friends in the barn, who's also my dearest friend and a student. And she keeps her horses here. And my guys were just over the stalls, you know, oh, mom, give me some attention. So I was in grooming with my fingernails, 2 of them, because my stalls, everything's open and a run-in. So they all get to, on this side of my property, the other side is all outside. But this side, they share stalls and they can come in and out whenever they want. So I usually have 2 or 3 in a stall. And so I'm hand grooming Legend and Sundance, and then my other 2 hear me. So they come up from this barn and they come up and they both come in the stall and they're all like leaning over and ears and eyes on me. So I know I need to go over there and love on them. But I mean, they have food, they leave their food and they fight over you. It's just amazing. And each one, I mean, there's purpose to everything you do. And what about the purpose of giving back to yourself? What do you do that makes you feel good? How do you make that into daily rituals? And to me, that ties back to conscious living, intentional living. So manifesting is when we consciously think about something and on a daily basis. We surround our minds with images, feelings, and words that support that thought or image until we can taste it, until it becomes a reality. So true manifestors, and I am one of those, align themselves with the law of attraction. And I believe in that too, meaning what a manifestor thinks and feels attracts the same like, the same form, the same energy. So everything is that. So I'll give you an example about Sabrina. Years ago when we were in great transition, personally, my husband and I, we were engaged at the time, and we were looking for a farm. We'd been looking for years, but we were seriously, now we were ready. And it all happened. And this is one of many ways that things happen in my life. And I believe that when it's supposed to be, it's meant to be, that everything lines up. But it doesn't just line up by happenstance or accident. It lines up because I've been thinking about it and dreaming about it and feeling it, but consciously thinking about it. Like, it's kind of like creating a business plan. I'm not like trying to control every step that it's got to happen exactly like this. I just mean that I'm consciously creating what I want my life to be like, or who I want to become, or who I want to date or marry. And Sabrina, it was in 2018, and we're engaged, my husband and I, and we'd already looked at this farm, and it was under contract with us, and it was the summer of 2018, right? 2018, yeah, because it was right before we moved here. And it seems like we've been together a lot longer. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, gosh. Been through a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really need a barn manager. Like, I need somebody that is I just need that person. Because I'd been, I had a lot of working students, and I had a big training center, and I was always bartering that with someone that was apprenticing with me, and just lots of things. And I was always doing it too, part of that. And she just shows up. She shows up at the perfect time. And then we move and transition into this place, and there was still a lot more change that needed to happen. And then as things 6 months later develop, I mean, here Sabrina just falls into, I'm like, you're good with the camera, you got a great eye, you love it. I'm like, how would you like to just step out of managing the facility and whatnot, and just step right into being my assistant, and specifically helping with the video editing and production. So it's amazing. I mean, that's just one example of many. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to get really personal with you because you and I talk about a lot of stuff. It's nothing that we haven't talked about before, but it's good. It's good because it's like, before you met me, were you living consciously? Were you really, I know you just moved here, I think 6 months prior, you just moved here beginning of 2018. You didn't want to move to Florida. You were just getting settled. You didn't, you were I think I was your first job. First job.
Yes.
First job in Florida. But I mean, were you just like a lot of people, just, I got to get a job and I know I want to work in a barn? Or did you really think about like who you wanted to work for? Did you give it a lot of thought?
Not really. I know. Well, I love horses.
You don't need to speak into this more, do you?
No.
All right, we're good.
I love horses. And
you love horses. Yeah.
Well, of course I love horses. I wanted to do something with that, but I knew I was older. You know what I mean? I didn't want to.
Yeah, but think about where you are today. This is, see, for you, it's happenstance. I'm the one that brought the law of attraction and pulled you into my field of energy, into my manifestation. But point I'm trying to make with you is you didn't consciously plan any of this. You didn't think about it.
No, I just wanted to be around horses. Yeah. I was happy at that time to just go in there, clean stalls and brush down horses and do whatever I got to do and go home.
But at the same time, I'm bringing this up because as this opportunity opened up for you to step into assisting me and the videography aspects, you were astonished. It was like a dream come true that you had never really allowed yourself to think about.
Yes, absolutely. I never thought that could happen to me, because I mean, like I said, I had 2 kids. I was older. I was married, and usually when you do
what's older,
like that,
in your 30s? Oh my gosh!
Sorry, guys.
Let's put that in perspective.
I felt like, but most of the time you start when you're in your 20s, and you do the videography and the photography and the marketing.
Or you focus on a career or an occupation earlier on in life.
I didn't have that opportunity. So I've always been around horses. That's where I was comfortable.
So let me ask you this. If you and I were to stop working together, what would you do? If all of a sudden, let's say I bellied up and I couldn't afford you anymore, I went bankrupt, just think of something crazy. Sure. Where would that leave you in your life right now that you've been in this lifestyle and in this work?
I would.
Yes,
absolutely.
It would. 100%. Yep. So I mean, this is a really powerful subject that we all have a lot of, not just responsibility, but we have more power than we realize. Nobody thinks like this. We need to think about, I mean, what can you pass on as part of your legacy to your children about making dreams come true? But even when you didn't even dream about this.
Yeah.
And doing a podcast.
Yeah.
You didn't even dream about all of this. But because now you've gotten a taste of it and it's so important to you, wouldn't you want to pass it on to your kids to say, hey, think about what you want to do with your life without a lot of pressure, you guys, but think about what you want to do with your life. Follow your dreams. Even if you don't know what you want to do, make everything count. That's living. That's purpose in everything you do. Make it count.
And my kids, they always tell me, I'm so proud of you. On special occasions.
Yeah, yes.
But my husband always tells me how much I have changed, how proud he is of me. And so absolutely, I would not go back.
I've known so many people who it is breathtaking just to be around them, and older people. And they're not even like my mother. I'm going to use my mom as an example right now. And God knows she's done a lot with her life. She's my mom. I mean, just raising us, but is phenomenal, right? Just raising us, your mothers. But just sitting with my mom and all of her wisdom, and it is, if that's where we spend, and we will, the rest of our time together, my mother and I, as she's aging, there's so much purpose that she has in just giving me her love and support and wisdom. You know, everybody has so much to offer. If we just realize that and take a little different turn in our perspective about how we can share and what we have to give to others. It's just, to me, that's just.
I love your mom.
Yeah, she is something really special, my mom. I think so. I mean, I get that from her as far as wanting to help and inspire. My mother has always been that person. You know, we've said often, my brothers and I, you missed your calling in life. My mother wanted to become a teacher and get her master's, and yeah, she just loves to share. So I guess that's where I definitely get that from. I'm going to bring up real quick this podcast from Oprah because it's really cool. I listened to it. It's just 29 minutes, maybe 30 minutes long. And then I'll bring up real quick this conversation I had with a potential student this morning. I get a lot of emails similar to this potential student. So it's a give back to you all. But in Oprah's podcast, Your Own Truth, and this is a recent one, I don't remember the date. And I'm just going to read what the first little, the summary of it. In a live appearance at UCLA's Royce Hall, Oprah explains why it's important for all of us to find our own truth. What is the truth of me? Why am I here? And what do I have to offer? Oprah asks. The answer, she says, is yourself. Oprah shares why you are enough, just as you are, and offers up the one question you need to ask whenever life throws you a curveball. She also shares what she wants everyone to stop doing right now. So, and I wrote this, while Oprah's podcast talks about being present, it also discusses what makes her feel special about herself. She talks about being a phenomenal woman, being able to listen to her inner voice and following it. This is akin to being authenticity, which is the degree to which an individual's actions are congruent with their beliefs and desires, despite external pressures. The conscious self is seen as coming to terms with being in a material world and with encountering external forces, pressures, and influences, which are very different from and other than itself. So that kind of sums up conscious living. Again, we're always open for questions. And if anyone ever wants us to expand on anything, we can always save that for the next time. But I want to share this conversation. So we had our webinar, our monthly webinar, which is to promote the Mastery Membership Program. And we had it yesterday. And I say potential student because this person, we spoke this morning to discuss the program and if it was going to be beneficial to she and her daughter and their horse. And again, I've gotten quite a few emails over the years similar to this story. And it's heartbreaking to me because I'm thinking about the horse right now, specifically. And I remember that my mare, Sundance, as a 3-year-old, was in the same predicament, similar predicament, different yet similar to this woman's call this morning. And what this conversation was all about is they had raised this beautifully well-bred, talented young filly. She's a 7-year-old mare now. And they started her late because she seemed very immature, a late bloomer. And she and her daughter, they have many horses, and they've casually trained and started and rode and competed, and they've been very successful. This person's not a professional trainer by trade, but she's had success. And this young filly, everything was going really well. And then the filly started rearing and went backwards with her daughter. And it had everything to do with pressure, just asking the filly to go from a walk into a trot. And so they sent her away, not once, but twice. And twice she came back, not manhandled, so to speak. And I mean that because most of the time they come back broken and worse. She was worse in ways where she was underfed. She probably had ulcers. I said she was, grotesquely thin and a little hyperflexed. But nobody was able to get her to canter in both situations. And I'm bringing all of this up because this is a typical person that's very interested in my work and represents so many of you out there, as far as you only know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. And I am definitely a pioneer in what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I couldn't say enough to her that the Mastery Membership Program can solve all of her problems, because it can. It is the same system that I've used for thousands of horses, and every one of them is from start to finish was fixed. Now, there were a few cases, definite neurological issue to possibly being inbred. But that's 3 horses out of thousands. And it's the same training system that students have studied to to apprentice with me. And it's like, nobody else is out there doing this. Nobody is providing you with a foundation. Everybody's trying to give you videos, try this, try that. And this particular horse, because it's such an extreme situation, both the nature of this horse is challenging and complex, not to mention, and I brought this up, I said, I already know there's 2 reasons why your young mare is the way she is. 1, you don't understand her. And 2, it's the way you raised her. And it's not a put down, it's not a criticism. You only know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. But in my experience, it's been mares that have been the most challenging. Can you go ahead and tell Paula to stop, please? Thank you, right now. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. People around here need to be more mindful and not have the blower on. But, it comes down to, it's not just the foundation that needs to be, that needs to be developed in our horses. It's the mindset. It's us not only being validated and supported in understanding that our horses are, more intelligent or more complicated than traditional methods allow, but it's changing the way that we think about them and the way we perceive them, mindset's everything. That's what I really want to drive home with this particular point, is mindset, our intention. If we go into that space with this particular horse with the wrong mindset and the wrong intention, we're gonna ruin it. But most people don't think like that. And my students in the Mastery Membership understand this. They've experienced this time and time again, both the frustration and then switching their mindset and having a different mindset, and then taking that intention, that consciousness, that mindfulness into the space with their horse, and how it's been a game changer, a complete game changer. And the biggest point I want to drive home is how that's where we need to begin. And that's what I told this potential student, the owner of this horse, absolutely lovely woman. And I'm like, this program of mine begins with you. And it is to develop you so that you know how to work with your horse, that you begin to understand how to apply the principles and the training system, the education, how you can teach that to your horse. You've got to learn your horse and how your horse needs to learn. And there's always a balance of love and leadership. And I definitely believe this horse is spoiled to some level and has been allowed to very intelligent and manipulate and get away with. But just because I said that doesn't mean the horse deserves to get punished. That's not what I'm talking about. Now we've got to understand where the horse is and how do we undo what we've created. Not to mention understanding the dynamic of the horse's personality. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. My mare Sundance is the most challenging mare I've ever known and ever worked with. And at the age of 3, she was going to be put down because she was trying to kill people. So it's sad. And the dynamic with her is not only was she raised by one person and spoiled, she then was thrown into some really horrific training as a 2-year-old. And then she was abandoned, neglected, and starved. And that's how she ended up with the rescue. So imagine that as your beginning, the first years of your life. You go from love and feeling safe and comfortable and spoiled, and then you are spurred and ridden the shit out of you. And then all of a sudden you go from that to your person leaves you, abandons you, and leaves you without food and water for a week until the rescue picks you up. So imagine spending your first years in an environment like that. You're not going to trust anyone. And so she was a really mean, angry, scared horse. And so I'm going to leave you guys with that. And do we have any comments before we quit?
No, just a lot of sharing.
A lot of sharing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah, but no question.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you all next week, Wednesday at noon. Thank you for being here. And you can always reach out to us through the website, or you can directly email me, Caroline@dowofhorsemanship.com. May you always be one with your horse. Have a blessed week, and thank you again.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, we got a quick question?
The drawing?
Oh, the drawing.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So we're doing our drawing today on this webinar. Thank you. Not on Friday's webinar for the Mastery Membership students, but our winner from yesterday is Annie, right? Annie,
yes.
Thank you, Annie. So you get your free 30-minute coaching call with me. So Annie, I will email you. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed week. May you always be one with your horse. Thanks, Sabrina, for remembering. Bye, everybody.